Greetings, Cameron from Australia. This is your instructional video on how to wire up a microphone. You'll notice this transducer, in this case it's a tweeter speaker that I'm using as a microphone transducer, and in the back of it, to increase the impedance, I have this little transformer. It's got 2 pins on the input and 3 pins on the output, so it's a center tapping if you needed to. But the point is that it's 8 ohms in and about 1000 ohms out, so I'll be using that to increase the signal strength going out, and it's convenient that it's magnetic core, so it sits on the magnetic back of the transducer of the magnet on the transducer itself. But it doesn't matter for getting the transformer if you were to. It's a similar process whether it was a crystal. It's just that you don't need a transformer for a crystal because it's a high impedance output in its own right. Right, so I will firstly self-fluxing solder and tin the wires that I'll have in use. Tend to twine them together first. And now I'm not an expert solderer, I must confess. Now it doesn't matter which way you solder them, which terminal is ground and which terminal's the hot wire, but just by convention I'll of course do the hot wire red and the earth, or the grounding I should say, in black. Now inside the housing of the microphone, it's a convenient in this Turner shell is that it's got a threaded little embossment at the back with provision to make a quite a decent earthing to the body. So that's very good. In other designs and other microphones I've made where I haven't had that sort of thing, I might just tend to jam the end of the wire between something metal in the body to make sure it has a good connection with the housing, or the thread in the connector at the bottom, or something like that, depending on the design. But yeah, but the idea is the same. The important thing is to earth the shell. It helps against noise and obviously makes the final connection. You need that 2-wire connection. Now for our purposes, we're doing just sort of very lo-fi sort of stuff, where we just have a 2-wire system, but you can have what's called balanced output, balanced lines, where there are 2 hot lines that go from the transducer, and they're held within a grounded sheet. But for our purpose, and they generally have XLR cables for that, but we don't need to worry about that here. So we'll tin our terminals on the transformer. Right. And I've got some shrink wrap to cover the terminal so it doesn't unnecessarily short. I tend to put electrician tape over things anyway for good measure at the end. But anyway, I can cut up a few pieces of that. Slip that over the wires. And then here we go to the input of that terminal, to the 8 ohm side of the terminal, of the transformer I should say. Right, you're still with me there, Cameron? I'll hopefully you can see that in the video okay. The tin, get a little bit of solder on my soldering iron and put that to there. I've got a wet, you might have noticed, you probably know all this anyway, but just got a wet sponge to clean the tip of the soldering iron. What would be good is to have a little jig to hold this steady while I'm trying to demonstrate. Would have been a bit more sensible. Now it's probably not so crucial with this because it's the terminals are fair away from the sort of working components of the transducer, but in the case of one of your crystals, you probably want to be quick about it and not put too much heat into the terminals on the crystal, I would imagine. But yeah, so be as quick as you can soldering that up. Okay, so there we go. So we've got it from the transducer into the transformer, and now we've just got to do it from the output of the transformer to the body and to the center pin of the connector. And now here's one of those Switchcraft 2501 panel mount males, and of course we need to pre-tin the center. There we go, put a bit of solder into the center there. Then we'll put a bit more tin onto the wire, our hot wire. We'll feed our wire through to the end, and then we'll proceed to there we go. Done. Now we have our hot wire ready in our connector. Oops, helps if you don't drop it. I put a couple of those gaskets that were washers, gasket things that came with the connectors, and I feed the wire down into the body and proceed to screw the connector on. Right. Now from the inside, there we go. We've got our earth to grounded black wire. We've got our hot wire that's going to the center pin on our connector, and we're ready to go. And all we need to do now is wire. As I say, it doesn't matter which one's which. Solder our hot line out from the transformer. Oops. Well, actually, I should have put the a bit more of the shrink wrap on that, shouldn't I, from that side? Right, here we go. It's rolling around on me. Anyway. Actually, that might help if I use the pliers as a bit of a brace to hold that into place. I might have a bit better chance. And there we are. Trying to push the shrink wrap over it. It's not so important to put the shrink wrap on the ground, because the ground, of course, you want it to touch the shell, so it wouldn't be a big problem if it didn't. If it did touch, but then again, you want to isolate it from the other input wires. Now, I don't have a heat gun to shrink the shrink wrap, but what you can do is just cheat a little bit and wave your hot soldering iron over the shrink wrap, and it goes just a little bit here and there, and you'll find that it will melt around the wires quite nicely just doing that. Don't have to go too overboard. And there you have it, a wired microphone. Now, you might have to just play around. I probably made those wires a little bit too long, so you might have to sort of wrap them around gently to get the thing to close up okay, like I've done there. There you have it. So that's a wired microphone. Now, I'll probably post another little video showing that it actually plays and works. All right, cheers.